Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to day 42 of Qur'an in a year plus, where we learn to look at the world and live life according to the lens of the Qur'an. Today we're going to be looking at verses 98 to 108 of Surah Imran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل يا أهل الكتاب لم تكفرون بآيات الله والله شهيد على ما تعملون. Say, O Prophet, O people of the book among the Jews and Christians, why do you deny the clear proofs of the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ? And among them are clear proofs presented in the very Torah and Injil. Allah is well aware of this action of yours. He is a witness of it, and He will pay you for it. قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ لِمَ تَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ تَبْغُونَهَا عِوَجًا وَأَنْتُمْ شُهَدَاءُ وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. Say, O Prophet, O people of the book, why do you deter from the religion of Allah those who believe among the people, seeking to pose in the religion of Allah as a means of diversion from truth to falsehood, and to pose as a means of deviation from guidance for its people? All the while, you are witnesses to the fact that this religion is the truth and confirmation of what is in your own scriptures. Allah is not unaware of what you commit of disbelief in Him and posing as an obstruction from His path. He will reward you for it. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن تطيعوا فريقا من الذين أوتوا الكتاب يردوكم بعد إيمانكم كافرين. O you who believe in Allah and follow His Messenger, if you obey a group of the people of the book among the Jews and Christians that don't want good for you, in what they say, and you accept their thinking in what they allege, they will cause you to return to disbelief after belief due to what is in them of jealousy and deviation from guidance. وَكَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ وَأَنْتُمْ تُتْلَى عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتُ اللَّهِ وَفِيكُمْ رَسُولُهُ وَمَنْ يَعْتَصِمْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ هُدِيَ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. How can you disbelieve in Allah after believing in Him, while you have with you the greatest reason for affirming belief? The verses of Allah are being recited to you, and His Messenger Muhammad ﷺ is clarifying them for you. Whoever holds fast to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger, then Allah has indeed guided him to a straight path in which there is no crookedness. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe in Allah and follow His Messenger, fear your Lord as He deserves to be feared. That is by following His commands, staying far away from what He prohibits, thanking Him for His favors, and holding fast to your religion until death arrives while you are in that state. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. Hold fast, O believers, to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, And do not commit actions that will cause you to fall into disunity. Remember the favors of Allah upon you. There was a time when you were enemies before Islam, fighting over the pettiest reasons. Then He joined your hearts through Islam and you became brothers in the religion, merciful towards one another and mutually sincere to each other in advice through His grace. Before that, you were on the verge of entering the fire through your disbelief. Then Allah rescued you from it with Islam, and He guided you towards faith. Just as Allah made this clear to you, He also makes clear to you that which will rectify your conditions in the worldly life and the afterlife, so that you may be guided to the right path and walk on the straight path as well. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there be from among you, O believers, a group inviting to every good that Allah loves, commanding the good that the law establishes and sound reason promotes, while preventing evil that the laws prohibit and sound reason abhors. Those described with this quality are the people who will achieve victory in this world and the next. ولا تكونوا كالذين تفرقوا واختلفوا من بعد ما جاءهم البينات وأولئك لهم عذاب عظيم. Do not be, O believers, like the people of the book who divided themselves and became factions and partisans. They differed regarding their religion after clear signs had come to them from Allah. Those individuals that were mentioned will have a severe punishment with Allah. يَوْمَ تَبْيَضُّ وُجُوهٌ وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهٌ فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ اسْوَدَّتْ وُجُوهُهُمْ أَكَفَرْتُمْ بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ فَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابَ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْفُرُونَ. This punishment will befall them on the day of judgment, when the faces of the faithful will be illuminated out of joy and happiness, and the faces of disbelievers will be darkened from sadness and grief. As for those whose faces will be darkened during that grievous day, it will be said to them reproachingly, "Did you deny Allah's oneness and the covenant He accepted on the basis that you do not associate any partners with Him after your attestation and confirmation of it? So taste the punishment of Allah which He promised you because of your disbelief." وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ بِيَضَّتْ وُجُوهُهُمْ فَفِي رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. As for those whose faces will be illuminated, their position will be in gardens of delight, dwelling in them forever, in a delight that will not diminish nor fade. تِلْكَ آيَاتُ اللَّهِ نَتْلُوهَا عَلَيْكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَمَا اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ ظُلْمًا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Those verses, including the promise and threat of Allah, we recite upon you, O Prophet, with truthful information and just rulings. Allah does not wish to oppress anyone in the world. Rather, no one will be punished except by that which his own hand has earned. As we reflect over today's verses, Allah warns us that if you obey certain people, they can harm your faith. They can divide your ranks. They can cause hatred between you. There will always be voices that stir division, people who feed your ego, your anger, your doubts. And if we're not careful, they can pull us away from the Book of Allah without us even noticing. Ikrimah, he tells us, there had been fighting between the two tribes of Medina, al-Aws and al-Khazraj, during the pre-Islamic era. When Islam came, they made peace and Allah united their hearts. Then one day a troublemaker from the Jews sat in a gathering where some men from both al-Aws and al-Khazraj were present. He began reciting poetry that one of the two tribes had composed during their days of war. As they listened, old feelings began to stir within them. The men of one tribe said, Our poet once said on the day of such and such lines. Then the men of the other tribe replied, and our poet said on the day of such and such lines. Soon their tempers flared and they said, come on, let's rekindle the war between us as it once was. They began shouting, O people of Aws, and the others shouted, O people of Khazraj. They gathered, took up their weapons, and lined up to fight once again. Then Allah revealed verse 103 of Surah Imran, and the Prophet ﷺ came to them and stood between the two lines. He recited the verse aloud, raising his voice. When they heard the sound of his voice, they fell silent and began listening attentively. When he finished reciting, they threw down their weapons, embraced one another, and began to weep. These were people who had lived through war, loss, and bloodshed. And when their old wounds were poked, they felt it, the anger, the pride, the pain. But notice what made them special. Not that they didn't feel emotion, but that they returned to Allah the moment they were reminded. The second they heard the Prophet's voice, the words of Allah, their anger melted. They dropped their weapons. They hugged each other. They cried. That's maturity. That's growth. Not the absence of feeling, but the presence of humility when reminded. And there's a powerful warning for us as well. Just like this individual stirred up division between the companions, there will always be people, sometimes with subtle words or manipulative tones, who try to divide us. Some do it with gossip, some through media and ideologies, some through the whispers of Shaitan himself, feeding your ego, convincing you someone else is your enemy. Allah is teaching us, be careful who you let into your heart. Not every voice deserves space in your mind, because one wrong word, one emotional trigger can undo years of peace, just like it almost did with the companions. So before reacting, we try to pause and ask ourselves, is this person calling me towards Allah or away from Him? And to feel emotions is normal. But the bigger question is, what do we do when we're reminded about what is pleasing to Allah? And Allah mentions, وَمَنْ يَعْتَصِمْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ هُدِيَ إِلَىٰ صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, that the one who hangs on firm to Allah's book, they are the ones who are guided to the straight path. Notice this is a conditional sentence. If you do this, this is the result that you get. Ibn Kathir, he mentions, اعتصام بالله, clinging to Allah through devotion and seeking His help, seeking refuge in His power and mercy from all evil, and tawakkul alayh, relying upon Him for all good. These are the foundations of guidance, the armor against misguidance, the means to uprightness, the path of correctness, and the way that leads the believer to the ultimate goal he desires. We're not hanging on to an idea, but we're hanging and we're clinging and we're relying upon Allah the Almighty, the Merciful, the All-Loving. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said during his farewell Hajj, that I'm leaving something behind. If you were to hang tight to it, you will never be misguided after me. He said, the book of Allah the Almighty. And once again, this is the mindset of the believer, that these are not just words I'm reading and reciting, but rather I'm studying the book of Allah, that which has all good in it, that which is leading me to my destination, that which has healing for my heart, that which gives me insight and teaches me how to live life. And Allah, He says, O you who believe, have that taqwa. Observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way that He truly deserves, and do not die except in the state of submissiveness as Muslims. And true God consciousness, true taqwa, means that Allah is obeyed and never disobeyed. He is remembered and never forgotten, and He is thanked and never denied. This reminds us that a believer is always growing. They adopt a growth mindset, always striving towards excellence and higher states of taqwa until death comes to them. Ibn Kathir, he mentioned, guard your Islam in times of health and well-being so that you may die upon it. For the most generous has made it his custom out of his generosity that whoever lives upon something will die upon it, and whoever dies upon something will be resurrected upon it. That means the way a person dies upon Islam is by living Islam every single day. And Allah, He mentions, and remember the favor of Allah upon you, reminding the companions of Allah's favor upon them. And Shaykh Sa'di, he mentions that this verse indicates that Allah loves for His servants to remember His blessings with both their hearts and tongues, so that they may increase in gratitude and love for Him, and so that He may increase them further in His bounty and kindness. And among the greatest of blessings to be remembered is the blessing of guidance to Islam. And this is not just a spiritual act, but it's also emotional healing as well. That the more a person practices gratitude, the more their mind shifts from negativity to peace. It rewires our brain because we have a negativity bias that we focus on what's wrong, what we don't have, what we lost, who hurt us. But when you list your blessings, your heart begins to feel lighter. Your stress hormones lower, your contentment rises. Spiritually, it reminds us that Allah has never abandoned us. Psychologically, it silences the voice of scarcity and fear. Gratitude softens envy, it calms anger, it builds unity. Because when you're busy thanking Allah for your blessings, you stop comparing your life to others. And that's the state of a believer, grounded, grateful, guided. So as we walk away from today's episode, we want to live this verse. Allah says, remember the blessing, so we want to remember the blessing as well. Because this is one of the ways to earn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we notice the mercy that's there, when we notice the blessings, when we're present in the moment and notice how blessed we are. So let's take a time and in that moment be present and recognize the mercy that's there, the blessing that's there, and how fortunate we are, and to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Because by being grateful, it becomes a means of getting even more. May Allah the Almighty unite our hearts. May He protect us from the plots of those who wish to destroy Islam. May He give us goodness in this world and the next. I'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.